In 1972, Walter Mischel placed a marshmallow in front of a 4-year-old and made an offer. Eat it now or wait 15 minutes and receive 2. The children who waited, his follow-up research suggested, went on to score higher on standardized tests, achieve better educational outcomes, and demonstrate stronger financial discipline as adults. This was treated for 40 years as one of psychology's most compelling findings about self-control. It was also, in a fundamental way, wrong. Gaslighting is the systematic manipulation of someone into doubting their own perception of reality. In financial contexts, it operates with particular effectiveness because money is already a domain where most people carry uncertainty. This video maps the mechanism, its variants, and why it is structurally difficult to identify in real time. But first, the marshmallow test, and what it was actually measuring. In 1972, Walter Mischel designed what became known as the Stanford marshmallow experiment. Children were left alone with a marshmallow and told that if they resisted eating it until the researcher returned, they would receive a second one. The children who waited longer showed correlations with better life outcomes in Mischel's follow-up research. The popular interpretation: willpower predicts success. Discipline practiced early compounds. This interpretation generated decades of educational programs, parenting advice, and self-help literature built around the assumption that self-control is the primary variable. In 2018, Tyler Watts, Greg Duncan, and Haonan Quan at New York University replicated the marshmallow study with 918 children, a sample size roughly 5 times larger than Mischel's original, and one explicitly designed to include children from lower-income families. The results? When controlling for family background, income, and home environment, the predictive power of the marshmallow test nearly disappeared. Children from lower-income households who ate the marshmallow immediately were not demonstrating poor self-control. They were demonstrating rational decision-making. In environments where promised rewards frequently don't materialize, where adults regularly fail to follow through on what they've said, eating the available reward immediately is the correct response to an unreliable environment. The marshmallow test wasn't measuring willpower, it was measuring trust. Which means the 40 years of educational policy, parenting advice, and financial self-help built on the willpower interpretation were built on the wrong variable. Brad Klontz, a financial psychologist at Creighton University, has spent 20 years documenting what he calls financial trauma, the way emotionally charged financial experiences in early environments shape adult financial behavior in ways that persist independently of circumstances changing. His research identifies a specific pattern. Adults who grew up in environments of financial instability or broken promises develop financial behaviors that are adaptive responses to those environments, spending money quickly before it disappears, avoiding financial commitments that require trusting future reliability, making decisions optimized for the immediate rather than the long term. These behaviors look like poor self-control from the outside. From the inside, they are the output of a system that learned correctly that the future is not reliable. Treating these behaviors as discipline failures and prescribing more willpower is not just ineffective. It misidentifies the variable that needs to change. The variable that needs to change is the reliability of the environment. And in adulthood, when the original environment is gone, what needs to change is the internal model that was built to match it. Klontz's research identifies this as financial scripting, the set of beliefs about money that were installed during formative experiences and that continue to operate as operating assumptions in adulthood, regardless of whether the circumstances that generated them still apply. The person who grew up watching a parent's financial commitments evaporate regularly internalized, promised money is unreliable. That script, running in adulthood, produces behaviors that are rational responses to an environment that no longer exists. Changing financial behavior for this person is not a matter of more discipline. It is a matter of updating the model to match the current environment, which is more difficult, slower, and more specific than any willpower-based intervention. The marshmallow test revision matters beyond the academic record. It matters because it points directly at what financial interventions actually need to target. If the marshmallow test measures trust rather than willpower, then financial self-control is less a trait that some people have and others don't, and more a behavior that emerges from specific environmental conditions. Environments where financial commitments are kept, where automatic savings contributions reliably execute, where financial agreements are honored, where the promised second marshmallow actually appears, produce financial behavior that looks like self-control. Not because the person suddenly has more discipline, because the environment is now reliable enough that waiting is rational. This has a direct structural implication, building financial reliability into your environment. Automatic systems, pre-commitment mechanisms, partners and institutions you have reason to trust. Does more for financial outcomes than any discipline-based intervention ever measured. You don't need more willpower. You need an environment where willpower is rarely required. The marshmallow test was one of psychology's most famous studies. The Stanford prison experiment was one of its most disturbing, and it reveals something about financial relationships that almost no one talks about. But before that, there are 7 patterns of financial manipulation that operate in every market, on every consumer, every day. And most people have no name for what's being done.